But let me first of all just say I'm Rachel Bevan, Director of Statistics Division at United Nations ESCAP, and we've got a great Stats Cafe lined up today. So I think first of all, I was going to hand over to Mr. Batdeva Batmo. I believe that the NSO Mongolian Statistical Office for Mongolia, who was going to make some welcoming remarks. He's also our current chair of the Bureau of the ESCAP Committee on Statistics. And I know that it's also a very busy week for him because I believe that the NSO Mongolia yesterday was celebrating their 100-year anniversary, which is a huge achievement. So big congratulations to you as well. So if it's okay, I'm going to just first of all hand over to Mr. Batdeva to make some welcoming remarks, and then I will start with the full program. Over to you, Mr. Batdeva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So good afternoon, dear colleagues and ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to this Stats Cafe session of the countdown to Asia-Pacific Statistics Week. As you know, the 9th session of the Committee on Statistics will take place from the 11th to 13th of December. It will be organized as a part of the Asia-Pacific Statistics Week, which will be held under the theme Power of Data from the 9th to 13th of December in Bangkok. So today, aim of our Stats Cafe session is to introduce different events of the week and help us to prepare for the week. So as for the agenda, first, Ms. Rachel Bevan, the Director of the Statistics Division of ESCAP, will introduce the program of the Asia-Pacific Week. And then we will have a panel discussion on the key papers of the Committee on Statistics. And then Ms. Afsana will introduce some administrative matters in preparation for the Asia-Pacific Statistics Week. So that's the agenda for us today. So now I would like to hand over the discussion to Ms. Rachel Bevan to introduce us the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Batdeva. So thank you very much. If I could just ask, so they're doing it as if by magic, they're putting up the presentation. Thank you very much. So the first thing that we wanted to do today really was to just have this opportunity to help everyone to prepare for Asia-Pacific Statistics Week. So we want to run through the program in a bit more detail to talk about the key papers that we have, but really the whole purpose of today is to help you prepare. So we're trying to make things easier for you. And one of the things that we've done this year to make things easier is to bring together a range of different activities. So the fact that we're holding the Committee on Statistics the same week as the SEAP Governing Council and the SEAP Management Seminar is really designed to try and reduce the time pressure on people, but also to look at what we can do in terms of maximizing that opportunity to have discussions at the management seminar, which are also linked to the committee. So if it's okay, if we go on to the next slide, and let me just talk you through the program for the week. So there's a QR code. It's also available on the website. So you should be able to just easily access this. So we've tried to put all the information into one page for people. It's also available, as I say, on the website in a format that you can more easily print out. So the Asia-Pacific Statistics Week will start on the Monday with the SEAP Governing Council. And I know that we're joined online today as well by Shailaja Sharma, who's the director of the SEAP Institute, and some of her staff. So as I say, we're going to start on the Monday, the 9th of December, with SEAP Governing Council. There'll be an expert group at lunchtime on unlocking the power of big data in official statistics. We'll be able to hear a bit more from some different countries and the work they've been doing on big data. Then day 2, on the Tuesday, we will start off with finishing off the ESCAP Governing Council and the adoption of the report, and then we'll move on to the ESCAP Management Seminar. And so this year we've really linked up the Management Seminar with the committee. So we have the same background paper for the ESCAP Management Seminar as we do for agenda item 3 on the committee, which is on agile statistical systems that are fit for the future. So let me also just say a huge thanks as well to everyone that I know is going to help us with that ESCAP management seminar. That will be very interactive, and I know we've asked a few people already, but we will be coming back to others to ask you to help us with that session in terms of managing some of the different discussions that will go on. So on the Wednesday, then we move on to the actual formal proceedings and the 9th session of the Committee on Statistics. And we start on the Wednesday with the high-level segment. That's the opportunity then that we have a number of ministers who will also be joining us on that first day. So after the opening, which will be done by our Executive Secretary of ESCAP, probably a minister from Thailand, and also a video message from Stefan Schweinfest, head of UN Statistics Division. So after that opening, we will then move on to agenda item 2, where we'll be looking at a kind of harnessing the power of data to leave no one behind, and looking at what have we been doing collectively towards our vision and our declaration on navigating on policy, leaving no one behind. Sorry. The power of data to leave no one behind. Let me get the right title. So under that agenda item 2, we've got 2 panel discussions. We start with the high-level panel on the whole of government approach, where we have government ministers from, let me think, Fiji, Maldives, Mongolia, and then we also have the head of the Laos Statistics Office. So they will be speaking at that first panel on the whole of government approach to building statistical capacity. And then we have a roundtable discussion where we'll be hearing from other partners, including World Bank, World Vision, an academic partner, and a couple, and our youth advocate will be moderating that panel. So we kind of start that morning with the kind of formal proceedings. Then we have a side event at lunchtime on civil registration and vital statistics. And then in the afternoon, we move on to kind of country statements. And then day 4, we carry on with and this will be the kind of senior officials segment. So moving away from that high level segment on the Wednesday, then we will be getting into the agenda item 3, as I've mentioned before, which is on agile statistical systems that are fit for the future. And that links to the ESCAP management seminar, where we'll be discussing that issue in more depth. We've got a side event as well on the Thursday about country first approach to drive smarter data monitoring. And we've asked a number of countries to be involved in that particular side event. And then we continue in the afternoon with the senior officials segment, agenda item 4, which looks at the progress that's been made since the last committee session, and particularly as well kind of following up on the specific decisions that were made at that committee, including undertaking a review of the committee structures. Then that also includes looking at the reports of the Governing Council of ESCAP and any other matters. So day 5 then, the Friday, we start in the morning with an expert group. That's kind of organised separately by Powers 21. That gives us time to prepare the report of the committee, and also for everyone to be able to read the draft report. And we have a side event in the middle of the day on showcasing the power of data. And we've already written around to all countries and international organizations on this one to ask if people would like to showcase any of their innovative work. So we've asked people to do lightning talks. Sadly, we haven't had enough time in the agenda to have long talks on all these different topics, but we tried to kind of find a way to include lightning talks. And then we finish with adopting the report. But throughout the week, we will also have exhibition space as well. So we've written around to countries and organizations as well if you want to exhibit. So if we go on to the next slide, please. Sorry, I'm running through this quickly, but please do, as I go through this as well, please do put any questions that you have in the chat, and we will have time at the end to really go through that, to go through any kind of questions and answers. But what we wanted to do today as well was just to give you a bit more background to the kind of the three main papers that we will be discussing at the Committee on Statistics, to give you a bit of history to them. We will hear from a presenter on each of the papers and also about any recommendations and decisions that are included in those papers. So just as background, just to kind of set out where we are, as you know, we're 2024, and what we're looking at for our Committee on Statistics is really looking at kind of midpoint reflections. So we started, you know, the committee's been going for a long time. Back in 2016, we agreed as a region on a collective vision and framework for action, and that was agreed at the 5th session of the Committee on Statistics. And then that was followed up 2 years later with a recommendation that on a declaration on navigating policy with data to leave no one behind. So that was at the 6th Committee on Statistics, which was held in 2018. Because that was a recommendation, recommendations are things which go beyond the mandate of the Committee on Statistics and the things that actually need a wider government approval. And so for those, we also have to present them to the ESCAP Commission, and they're agreed by the Commission. So that's why I've got things on the bottom line here in orange, and these are things agreed by the ESCAP Commission. So the Declaration on Navigating Policy with Data to Leave No One Behind was agreed in 2019 with ESCAP Resolution 75/9, where we agreed 3 principles. And at that time as well, we agreed that in 2024, we would do a kind of midpoint review of progress to report back at the 81st Commission session. And that's why we're doing this midpoint review of progress this year, in order to feed into the 81st ESCAP Commission session next year. That's just to set out a bit of background. If we go on to the next slide, please. So we're going to look today and hear a bit more about the 3 main kind of agenda items that we have. We've got a presenter from ESCAP, and we've also got a discussant from one of our kind of bureau members. So we're very grateful for them for joining us today. So thank you for each of them being here. So let me just briefly say we've got the 3 main agenda items. They each have 1 paper associated with them, and there are some of them have a number of the first paper has a number of recommendations, 2 decisions, and then the others have decisions. As I say, recommendations are things that the committee agrees, but agrees to put them forward to the ESCAP Commission. So they're things that go beyond that. The kind of control and the mandate of a national statistical office. And that's why we distinguish between recommendations and decisions. But I'm not going to go into the detail because I've got people that are going to talk a bit more about each of those. So if we go on to the next slide, please. What we want to do now is to then go into each of those 3 different papers that we have to present on. So we've got an ESCAP presenter on each of these, and we've also got a discussant. So on the first one, we have, I will introduce people as we go through each of the papers. So we've got Diane Shayani, who's a statistician in my division in ESCAP, and then we will be hearing, he's going to say a bit about the actual paper. And then we've got the discussant, we've got Dr. Saurabh Garg, who's the Secretary of the Ministry of Statistics and Programme Implementation for the Government of India, and one of our ESCAP Bureau members. So thank you very much. So if that's okay, I'm going to pass over to Diane. But please, as we go through this as well, I know we're kind of giving you a lot of information, but please do post any comments or questions that you have in the chat bar as we go through. Thank you very much. If I just pass over to Diane first of all, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Diane. I'm a statistician here in ESCAP, and it's a pleasure for me today to introduce you to the first of the papers that have been drafted to support the dialogue during the committee session. And this one is about harnessing the power of data to leave no one behind. But what ESCAP's, from ESCAP's vantage point, we are seeing a landscape that is changing quite fast for the national statistics offices and the national statistics systems in the countries. There's an increasingly complex setting with new technological advancements. And at the same time, the demands for statistics are growing as well. Policymakers now want regular time, real-time granular data, and the scope of the topics also is increasing. Also, there are many demands for monitoring global commitments, even as also subnational and local needs as well for data. In the face of all of that, last year, member states have recommitted to the SDGs during the 2023 SDG Summit and have agreed to invest in the promotion of the SDGs to achieve the goals by 2030. And one of the outcomes of that summit was what we call the Power of Data Initiative, which is an initiative that partners the UN with governments, different parts of the government, to bring SDG solutions to scale, especially tackling the data gaps and strengthening the national data systems in partnership with data producers and data users, and thus enhancing the national data ecosystem. So when we see that from the perspective of the region, our committee has mandated us in the Declaration on Navigating Policy with Data to Leave No One Behind to work around three different principles of linking policy with data, investments in the national statistical systems, and an integrated way upholding the fundamental principles of official statistics. So we have analyzed the progress so far from the time of the declaration. And on the first topic of linking policy and data, we see that there is a good progress on in statistical planning, and there's an increased data coverage and openness. However, there are challenges that persist in effectively coordinating the statistical systems and the use of data by policymakers, as well as incorporating diverse sources of data into the production of official statistics. And therefore, we see that as a challenge of cultivating a broader scope of a whole of society approach to data. In the second point of investment, we see also that there is an opportunity here to invest in the power of data. The national statistical plans are not fully funded for most of the countries around the region. And the political leadership is also very much needed beyond the funds. So a solid commitment for producing data is required so we can fully harness the power of data. And finally, we also need to modernize our statistical systems to make them more agile. The statistical systems face challenges, including the skills of the staff, as well as the culture of continuous learning and cross-functional teams that can promote collaboration and innovation. And that topic also is so important that has been singled out on a separate paper that my colleague will present later. So based on these areas and these findings, there has been a proposal of 3 recommendations by the committee and 2 decisions. So the 3 recommendations, they will be forwarded to the 81st Commission, the ESCAP Commission session that will happen in April next year, while the 2 decisions, they are taken by the committee. So the draft proposals for these decisions and recommendations are written in the paper. So that's it for me. I'll hand back to you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Diane. And now, if it's okay, we'll just go straight on to the discussion. So we've just asked people to kind of share their reflections on each of the different papers. So if I can now just hand over to Dr. Saurabh Garg, who, as I say, is the Secretary of the Ministry of Statistics and Programme Implementation of Government of India. Over to you for your reflections. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone. I hope you're able to hear me. Yes, okay. So first of all, I must commend the team for presenting this paper, and on a topic like leaving no one behind, which also feeds into the overall UN goal of leave no one behind. It's absolutely in tune with what in India also we have a focus on social justice and ensuring that all participate and benefit from development.
That's
So especially like to mention 2 or 3 pillars that have been a part of the paper, which is number 1, linking policy with data. This is something that we are also focused on to ensure that decision making is more evidence based, and therefore policies are based on evidences.
opportunity then that we have a number of.
The second, which I would also like to commend, is the whole of the society approach. In fact, in India, we have our Prime Minister has a slogan, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, which effectively means that everyone in development and the whole of the society approach. The third that I would focus on is the agile statistical systems, which, given the present development of technology and other aspects, are extremely important. And the fourth, which in a way combines a number of these, which is strengthening the capacity to produce, disseminate, and use official statistics. I think this is something which has been mentioned, which is partly in the second pillar, but the fact that we need to ensure and expand that people can produce, disseminate, and use. Just a couple of minutes on some of the examples that we have done. For example, on using data for policy making, all of us do labor force studies, periodic labor force studies. And one of the areas that we have looked at is how to increase women's participation in the labor force. And it was found that access or having alternate duties is what is holding back a lot of women. So there's been a focus on working women's hostels and building creches at various places. In the SDGs, which focuses on the whole of the society approach, the global indicator framework has 231 indicators, but in our national indicator framework, we've got 308 indicators broad-basing the approach.
We will then move on to agenda item.
One is involved in the activities. Using technology is critical. We've developed and improved our portal e-Sankhiki, where we have more than 3.6 billion records, so that people can understand what is data. Dissemination becomes easier, visualization is better. And data user conferences is something that we are extensively using. And we annually celebrate a National Statistics Day, where we bring about a number of people and across the country in schools, colleges, universities, have essays
And our deck
to bring about better knowledge of statistics. I will just end with one suggestion for ESCAP. One area where perhaps more work can be thought of is in the use of alternative data in official statistics. We have a number of data, geospatial data, high frequency data, and data coming out of various use of technology in various fields. So this is an area which will also help build more agile statistical systems. So this is one area what I would strongly suggest we could consider in terms of how we can better use alternative data. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you so much for those reflections, and thank you for sharing what India is doing as well. So it's good to hear more about that, and thank you as well for the suggestion on what we can do to take work forward. We appreciate that. So I've made a careful note of that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go straight on to the next paper. So we've got lots of time at the end for kind of questions and answers. So next we're going to hear from Afsaneh Yazdani, who's a statistician again in ESCAP, Statistics Division. She's also the secretary for our 9th session of the Committee on Statistics. So that means you'll be seeing a lot more of her when you come to Bangkok. And she's is one of the people who's been putting in a lot of the work to organize this event. So a huge thank you to her. So, and then after we hear from Afsaneh, we will then hear from the next discussant, Mrs. Hatchinuk Chinopawat from Thailand National Statistical Office. But if I pass over to you now, Afsaneh, to share on paper 3, Agile Statistical Systems that are fit for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for a very kind introduction. As Rachel mentioned, I'm going
That first panel.
to briefly introduce the paper on Agile Statistical Systems fit for the future. We all know that we are now living in a rapidly changing world, which is marked by the technological advancements, evolving societal needs, climate change, pandemics, as well as the global and the regional commitments that have already been mentioned. All of these intensify the need for timely and granular data, and the data landscape is also quickly evolving and expanding. So many actors we have now in the data landscape. In this context, statistical systems can no longer continue with traditional ways of working. And here is where the concept of the agile statistical systems becomes crucial. And this concept offers a way to respond more quickly and effectively to the emerging challenges and the evolving environment we are working in. At the regional level, as already mentioned, we have 2 commitments. One of them is the collective vision. The other one is the declaration on navigating policy with data to leave no one behind. And these 2 commitments both outline our collective vision and actions to strengthen the statistical capacity and emphasize the importance of engaging users, assuring data quality, and investing in modernizing processes, all of which are related to being agile organizations. Here in this slide, we can see a couple of elements. There are various definitions for agile organizations, but here are the ones that are common, and they are also relevant to statistical systems. As you see here, an agile statistical system, we can define work of the teams within a people-centered culture that operates in rapid learning and fast decision cycles, which are enabled by technology and are guided by a common purpose to co-create value for all stakeholders. This agile system is led by empowering leadership that prioritizes team well-being and growth, fosters the trust, and creates a supportive and collaborative workspace that values every and each individual, and also encourages continuous learning and innovation. An agile statistical system is also user-focused, engages diverse users, and ensures that it remains relevant and responsive to the evolving data needs of all users. Also, an agile
official segment, so moving away,
continuously reassess its strategy and adapts it to changing circumstances, and will utilize the advanced technology and standardized processes, such as the one that most of us are familiar with, the GSBPM, and also will apply open source software to enhance the efficiency and consistency. So considering this, the topic of agility was considered as one of the topics for the upcoming session of the committee. as an emerging issue to be discussed. And here you see that this paper is related to the agenda item number 3. So that's all from me, and I hand back to you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Asani. And I know there's always statistical systems that are fit for the few these papers, so we appreciate you trying to summarize it all for us. But people can also read the paper, and just to remind you as well that that paper is also the same background paper for the CEAP management seminar. And at the CEAP management seminar, we'll actually have a lot more opportunity to talk more about the issues. But now I'm going to pass over to our discussant on this one. And thank you so much for Mrs. Haitachanok. I'm not very good at doing this pronunciation, particularly when it's written in this way, Chino Pawat, who's the Director of Statistical Forecasting Division from the NSO in Thailand. And we really appreciate you doing this and being able to kind of respond. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning and good afternoon, distinguished guests and participants. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Afsane for her insightful presentation on the topic of Agile Statistical System. This is truly an important and timely agenda that merits our full attention. The paper eloquently highlights the essential elements required for national statistical offices to become more agile and adaptable in face of rapid global changes. Key points include flexible strategy that empower quick decision-making and promote innovation, cross-functional teams that facilitate collaboration across domains, a strong focus on user-centered design to better meet stakeholder needs, a culture of continuous learning and willingness to embrace new technologies. These foundational pillars are crucial for NSOs in the Asia-Pacific region to remain resilient and responsive as we work toward achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. In Thailand, we have taken proactive steps to enhance the agility of our statistical system. For instance, the adoption of a digital-first approach for the 2025 Population and Housing Census aims to modernize data collection and make it more accessible to the public. Additionally, the development of the NSO data catalog and government data catalog demonstrates our commitment to cross-agency collaboration and user-centered design. This initiative reflects NSO Thailand's role as an empowering leader to national statistical system, fostering partnership to better serve the needs of our stakeholders. Moving forward, I believe ESCAP can play a crucial role in supporting NSO in the region to cultivate more agile statistical systems. Some key areas support could include facilitating regular knowledge sharing platforms for member countries to exchange best practices, discuss challenges, and explore emerging topics such as data science and real-time data processing. Providing capacity building programs to equip statisticians and IT professionals with advanced skills in analytics, data visualization, and agile project management, helping to facilitate partnerships with international organizations to support the adoption of innovative technologies and methodologies, especially for resource constant NSOs. In conclusion, I would like to invite all of you to actively participate in the upcoming 9th session of the ESCAP Committees on Statistics. This will be an invaluable opportunity to collectively explore ways to strengthen the resilience and adaptability of our national statistical system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was trying to make notes there as well about the suggestions and also about what you're doing. So great to hear more about what the NSO is doing here in Thailand. So thank you so much for sharing those reflections. So we're going to go straight on to the next and the final speaker and the final paper. As you'll probably notice as well, we have kept the number of papers much lighter than we have in previous committees. So we hope that that's also makes your lives easier, and it certainly makes our lives easier as well. But we hope as well that it gives us more of an opportunity to really explore the issues in a bit more depth. So we're going to hear from Tirapong. I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name. And Tirapong is again a statistician in ESCAP Statistics Division, and he's going to share about what we've been doing to do a review of the committee structure, which was one of our decisions that came out of our last committee. But people, I know many of you also attended here in Bangkok in August 2022. And after he speaks, we're then going to hear again from Mr. Batdava, our chairperson from NSO Mongolia and chair of our Bureau of the ESCAP Committee on Statistics. So if it's okay, I'll hand straight over to you, Tirapong. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much, Rachel. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, the fourth paper of the committee this year focuses on the progress made in implementing the decision by the eighth session of the committee. Critical to that paper is basically the review of the current committee structure. And as you see on the slide now, currently there are 5 groups and committee of practice serving the committee. I'm not going to read their names, but this cover economic statistics, population social, and network of coordination of statistical training, working group on disaster stats, and also Asia-Pacific integration of committee of practice. And on the next slide, and this is the process that has been taken since 2023, continuing until this year, that the Bureau undertook a review of these groups and the communities of practice. That includes 2 rounds of the regional consultation and 2 stat cafes in which most of you participated in this process. And the immediate conclusion for this review and consultation is a strong support for replacing existing groups and committee of practice with more flexible task teams to support the implementation of decisions taken by the committee. So this will become subject to discussion at the committee this year, a new way of working under the Committee of Statistics. I'm sure you have seen this, but on the next slide, this is a visual summary of how it would look in the proposed structure, which we have the committee and Bureau serving the committee, and you will see task teams that will be guided and managed by the Bureau and that will be task focused, time bound to deliver the decisions by the committee. And as Ms. Hatay Chanok also mentioned, we will also have the Asia-Pacific online forum that will facilitate exchange of knowledge and experience among NSS in Asia-Pacific. This will be discussed further in the agenda item number 4 in the committee session, and hopefully they will be agree and endorsed by the committee. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thanks so much, Tirapong. And if we go straight on to our discussant for this paper, which is Mr. Batdava Batmonth, chairperson of NSO Mongolia, over to you to share some reflections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tirapong and Rachel, for sharing us the status of this decision number 5 of the 9th session of the committee, 8th session of the committee. So, as you know, last time committee decided to conduct a review on the workings of the groups and the communities of practices. with support from the Secretariat, first to streamline, consolidate, and improve the workings of these groups and communities. So basically, if you could see from the paper that has been circulated before, there is like two recommendations. One is to replace the existing groups and communities of practices with more agile task teams that can fit to the changing environment of the environment at the time. And secondly, the review recommended to establish an online forum for statisticians to share knowledge and facilitate the knowledge sharing and the experiences among the member countries and also development partners. So based on these two recommendations, actually the Bureau members held 2 rounds of discussion through the Stat Cafés a few months ago. And most of the participants were in support for replacing the groups and communities of practices with more flexible task teams and to support the implementation of the decision made by the 8th session of the committee. And also at the same time, some members of the Bureau also discussed that we have to focus on the effective workings of the those task teams, because it could put another workload for the Secretariat, because in that case the Secretariat's duty will be participation would be much higher to facilitate the more effective functioning of these task teams. But most members have agreed that replacing these working groups and communities with these task teams, which can work within a given time frames, like on average 3 to 12 months, would be more effective and more agile for that would fit the changing demand at the time. So with that, that's all the point I would like to highlight with regard to the review of this paper.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you as well for being involved in leading the review, because also I know it's been quite a lot of additional work, and you helped us with a number of the kind of consultations. So thank you so much for your support on that. So we've heard about the 3 main papers that we'll be discussing at the committee itself. And what we were going to do now is to hear from Afsane in terms of her role as the secretary of the committee. And she's going to go through some of those practical aspects, helping us to prepare. And also, please do post any questions, because now's your chance to ask her anything. We've also got people as well from ESCAP here. So if you've got any questions about the Governing Council or the Management Seminar as well, then please just put those in the chat and we'll also come to those afterwards. So if I can just pass back to you, Afsane, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Is it fine now, my voice? Okay, I think it's not. Thank you very much, Rachel, and all colleagues. And just a couple of tips regarding the upcoming session. So let us start with a couple of them related to the logistic arrangements. Firstly, each country has a designated liaison officer, and you should have received an email from the liaison officer of your country yesterday. And so you know that if you have any questions, if you need any help, you can reach out to them. We have 2 very important deadlines. One of them is quite close, which is the 15th November, which is the time that we need to receive the letter of credential from with the names and designation of the members of your country delegation for each of the events. So that includes the Governing Council Management Seminar and the Committee on Statistics. So for each of them, we need you to register online through the Indico, which you can see the link here. And we also need to receive the letter of credentials by 15 November. We appreciate if you could help with that. And if you have already registered, you have received some QR code, and we want you to bring it along with you when you want to attend the committee session. The other important deadline is 4th of December, which I will describe what we mean with that in the next slide. Sorry, in the slide later. So just please hold it for now. That I wanted to show you, if you have any questions regarding the logistic arrangements, you can go to the website of the session, of the committee session. Here you can see the QR code, and you can go to the tab which is related to the information node. And if you want to access other documents also, you can go to the rest of the tabs. And if you still have questions, you can either communicate that with your liaison officer, or you can contact us with the
from one of our
on this slide. So I just wait for 2 seconds on this slide in case that you want to see. And also please note that we will share all the presentation slides of this session on the Stats Café webpage, so you can always access it. And the next one,
so we're very grateful for them.
Country statements, the one that I already mentioned. Please hold it for a couple of minutes. So this is the when you review the documents, we already provided a very brief introduction to them. So you can access the full documents on the web page, and you may review them. And you can also, we want to
Each of them being here.
Under the title of Issues for Consideration by the Committee. And then you may want to make a statement or intervention. In that case, please, you need to complete the speaker request form for your country statements, and you need to submit it to us by 4th December. And one important point is that during the session of the committee, under each agenda item, each country will be asked to make their interventions within 3 minutes. So we also ask you, if you want to make any verbal statements, please make sure that you will remain within 3 minutes. So we will have enough time for all the countries to engage. So this is one request from us, from the Secretariat, that we appreciate if you could kindly consider. And now we go back to this famous slide of the decisions and the recommendations. So maybe I hand back to you, Rachel, if you want to somehow re-emphasize anything on this.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Afsane. I mean, just to say, in terms of here, these are the main agenda items. So there's an opportunity for countries and organizations to make statements under agenda item 2, under agenda item 3, under agenda item 4. When you're making statements, as Afsane's put it, 3 minutes maximum. We have so far, I think, registered as of today, we have 33 countries registered, and we know there's a number more we're expecting to register shortly, plus I think 12 international organizations. That's why we have to kind of limit the intervention. So because we do want to hear from as many countries as possible. And we particularly would encourage you to make statements, particularly under agenda item 2 and agenda item, 3. We want to hear, what you think, but also what you're doing. So I think we've heard already from the discussants today, what's really useful in your country statements is to hear support for recommendations and decisions. That just makes our lives easier. It's also nice if you can, if we've been providing any support for you, then please also do make reference to that in your country statements, because it really helps us to make sure we get continued support from our bosses for our work. If we don't get acknowledged for the support we're providing to countries, then it makes our lives much harder. So please, we do appreciate anything you can say that kind of acknowledges that support that we do give to countries. Also, hearing from yourselves about what you're doing in your country related to these different areas is really, really helpful as well. But like we say, there's a maximum of 3 minutes. We will stick very strictly to that 3 minutes, because we have to make sure that every country is treated the same, and we don't want to run out of time and not be able to kind of hear from all countries. And the reason we have that deadline, these deadlines as well, I mean, we need the country statements so that we know and can kind of plan the time, but also it helps the interpreters to be able to kind of plan in advance so they can prepare. So please do remember as well, Friday the 15th of November is the date in terms of registering, but also submitting letters of credentials as well. If you can't do it within that time frame for whatever reason, and I know there's a couple of issues some countries have had to do with passports and things, then please do let us know through the liaison officer or through our main kind of email address, just so that we know and can kind of plan accordingly. That really helps us. So we've got quite a bit of time now, and the purpose was to really hear from you if there were any questions. I haven't seen any on the chat. I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but I don't think I've seen any. But if anyone's got any questions of the papers, so we've got, please put your hands up as well and talk, because we always like to hear from people as well. That's what we're here for. Hopefully things are clear, but it's always, hard when we're involved in this. We always think we've made ourselves super clear, but we might not have. So please do ask any questions you've got.
I think Mr. Bhattava has a hand. Yep.
Okay, yes, please, over to you, Bhattava.
I have a question on the logistical arrangement of the high-level segment. So our ministry is planning to attend. So as for the arrangement of this high-level meeting, would the high-level personnel would be just taking part as a panel members, or would they need to prefer any presentation or anything similar to that?
We can let you know separately on that one, but I think our intention with the Minister for Mongolia is to have his engagement in that panel discussion, but then also to make some opening remarks and reflections at the expert group on Friday, on data and AI. So to participate in those two events. But nothing else. Well, and there will be an informal coffee with the executive secretary on the Wednesday, which he would also be invited to, as would other ministers and heads of national statistics offices. But that will be a limited group, which is why it's not on the agenda. We do have, there are 2 other events which are not on the main agenda. One of those is an informal coffee with the executive secretary for ministers and heads of national statistics offices, and we will contact them about that. That's for the Wednesday morning. And then we were also arranging a dinner for female leaders in statistical officers, and that's being arranged with the World Bank, who are kindly co-hosting that, and we'll be in touch separately with invitations on that one. Those two events, I'm just mentioning them so people know, but they're not on the formal agenda because they're invitation only ones on that. But if is that okay, we'll get back to you with more detail as well. Thank you. And
Thank
then
you,
if I can go,
Rachel.
thanks, if I can go to India. Thank you.
Just we want to know one thing. There was a deadline for registration for lightning talk was up to 10th of this month. So when we are going to get confirmation about that our request is accepted.
Let me pass to, let me see who's on the line. Tirapong, you can answer that.
Yes, thank you for the question. The registration deadline is this Friday, and after we close the registration, we will review and definitely be able to respond to all registrars by next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We tried to keep the deadlines the same for the different things so that we can remember what they all are. So yeah, this Friday is an important deadline. Any other questions? I don't know, Shailaja, did you want to add anything on your side from the ESCAP side? We haven't had any questions, so everyone's okay?
Not really, Rachel. You have covered everything. I just wanted to say that, yeah, the first day, that is the 9th, will be the Governing Council meeting, and all the proceedings will be over the first day only. And on the 10th morning, of course, the report will be just approved, and that will be followed by the management seminar, as you have already said. And the arrangements, the details of the management seminar, along with the discussions and the groups, which we are already in the process of finalizing. That will be communicated to the participants as and when they are finalized and when they are there. So I don't.
What ESCAPs from?
And SIAP will also be hosting a lunch on Rachel Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. So yeah, there'll be a lunch hosted by SIAP on Tuesday, that is the 10th. So this is all, and if there are any questions, the normal schedule of the Governing Council will be the same as in the past. I think most of us know that there'll be the director's presentation followed by the work plan and the financial plan for the 2025. And this year we have 2 additional items. Number one, we'll be presenting a strategic plan for 25-29, which has been drafted in consultation with the Friends of Chair group. Rachel, you know that, and last year there was a request from the GC members that we should have a FOC, which came into being, and we got all the inputs from the members of the FOC and also the National Statistical Institutes. And we have already finalized the draft in consultation with the FOC members. And the evaluation of SIAP is another item which will be presented this year in the Governing Council meeting. So this is basically the schedule for the Governing Council, and followed by the management seminar on the 10th. So, but if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Shailaja, and thank you as well. As you said, SIAP are kindly hosting a lunch on the Tuesday, and on the Monday we have a lunch hosted by our big data project. So everyone's invited who is around on that day is invited to that. We have also managed to arrange a lunch on the Wednesday hosted by Bloomberg Foundation under our kind of Get Everyone in the Picture CRVS project. On the Thursday, we are very grateful to the Pacific community for hosting lunch, and on Friday to Paris 21. So we've been doing a lot of outreach, and we're very grateful to our partners as well for that. So that means that we've got lunch covered throughout the week, which hopefully as well makes things a little bit easier, gives you all a little bit more time to be able to manage things as well. So we are very grateful to all our partners for that. I don't see any more questions, but please, this is, we know that there were always things that come up. You should all have a liaison officer, so please do ask them any questions. Do reach out if anything is unclear, if you need any additional information. We are still contacting people about the side events and also about CEAP Management Seminar. So we will be in touch with probably many of you to help us with that. But at that point, if there's nothing else that I've forgotten, we will just say huge
to the SDGs during.
looking to my team.
Oh, I just one tip for country statements. In 3 minutes is difficult to imagine, but if you prepare your statements for 300 to 400 words, I think that would make around 3 minutes, and our liaison officers may contact you back if the statements are slightly too short or slightly too long. So to make sure that everyone has the equal opportunity really during the committee sessions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It's a good reminder. It's much better if you can plan it that way. We don't like to cut anybody off. Also, that's the kind of thing that we have to ask our lovely chairs to do. And that's never a nice task. So if you can help us with that, that would be greatly appreciated. But in which case, let me just say a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Thank you especially to our discussants and to the presenters who've told us a bit more about each of the papers. Hopefully that helps everyone in terms of preparing for the event as well. So it gives you a bit more information. The papers are fairly short, like I say. So we hope that that really does help you all in terms of preparing. And we're really excited. It's always wonderful to be able to actually host everyone in Bangkok. So really looking forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.